Welcome to episode number 3 of the ProductBulb Podcast. You're with your host, Harinikan. We have a very special guest today. We have a product leader from a startup based in India, Yash Chakate. He is a product leader at a company called Topmate, a company that I've been following for a while now. So I'm really happy to have Yash on the show. So happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Harini. I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. Yeah, Yash, if you can briefly, give a small introduction about yourself, your professional background to our audience. Yep.
Sure, would love to. So I'm an engineer, but I'm not exactly working as an engineer. So I always knew that I wanted to have my own startup or work in startups because I just enjoy that. So yeah, ever since I started my job, I've been working with startups. Previously worked as a product manager in the B2B SaaS space. Then went on to start my own startup. It was basically helping people build healthy habits through the power of community. So if you know of Strava, think of Strava, but for all of your everyday habits. So we did that, launched the app, got a bunch of users, paying users in India. That's a big thing. But then eventually realized that the problem we were solving was way bigger than we had anticipated, and I was bootstrapping it. So eventually, time ran out for me and decided to shut it. And that's when I came around Topmate, and I've always been interested in this space in the creator economy and realized that okay, Topmate is solving a great problem here. And then connected with the founders and realized that okay, this is something that I would love to work on, and ended up joining Topmate as the product manager here.
Excellent. Topmate obviously is doing, is pretty busy. LinkedIn. I got introduced to Topmate through LinkedIn. There are a lot of technical leaders from India, from US, who have started using the tool. So in general for audience both in India and globally. If you can give an introduction to what Topmate does, what does it do, and what's the startup story, what's the background, if you can shine some light there.
Of course. So in a very simple way, Topmate is basically a tool for creators or experts to monetize their audience. Okay. So, initially we would like to call it that, turn your followers into paying customers. That's what we like to believe, right? So, essentially, let's say you are a creator or an expert in any particular field, okay, and you would get a lot of requests from people who would need your guidance. For example, if you're a leader in product, you would hear from, people who are trying to break into product. They would love to learn from you, talk to you, things like that. But what happens is that if you're getting 200 DMs, you don't know which ones to reply to, right? So it becomes a problem for both the people that somebody who is reaching out, they don't have a way to know that whether they can even reach out to you or not, and you don't have a way to prioritize that who do you talk to, right? If you're getting like 100 requests, which happens when you have like 100K followers, then you would get a bunch of DMs, right? So that's where it starts, that with Topmate, you can create your own page where you can list all of your services. If you want to offer coaching, if you want to offer mentorship, if you want to do group sessions, if you want to do long-term engagements, right? You can list those services on your page and then you can monetize them. You can add a charge to any of your services. So what that does is instead of you engaging with someone over DMs, you just share your Topmate link. You put it in your link in bio on LinkedIn, on Instagram. And whenever somebody visits your page, they see that, okay, Arena is on Topmate. Let's see what she has. And then I see that, okay, there's an option to, talk to her for a quick chat. I just go ahead and I book it, right? So now you have a way to prioritize that because Yash is willing to pay, then I'll prioritize him, right? Instead of somebody who would have maybe talked to you for a bunch, like for a long time over DMs, but it wouldn't have converted, right? So it just helps you to prioritize people who are willing to pay. At the same time, you can do free sessions, right? If you want to just help people out, you can do that as well. So essentially, it's like a win-win for both sides, that you are able to offer your expertise and charge for it, and somebody who really needs it is able to get it. So that's the whole concept with Topman.
Uh,
And I think the story started in the same way that, even our founders were struggling with this very problem. Okay.
Right.
Previously, they were working on something else, and that startup was having some issues, and they wanted some advice from other startup founders, right? And they tried to reach out to a lot of people. They realized that there is no way to actually reach out to someone and talk to them. And before Topmet, there was no actual way to do it, right? There is kind of a new category that Topmet has created. So that's when the idea struck them, and that's how they started. And initially, we were focused just on one-on-ones. Like, initially you could compare us directly with Calendly, but today we are way different than what Calendly does, right? So I think it started from there, and after that, it has been one thing after another. And now we look at ourselves as like, an entire place where you can run your creative business.
It's almost like your founders, they had a problem, and to solve it they created a tool to solve the problem. So that's awesome. So is Topmate VC backed in India? Like,
Yeah, it is.
excellent. Great. I have used Topmate. That is how we spoke. I thought it was a really smooth experience. So I'm a big fan. All right. So let's get into real meaty product stuff. So, what is your long-term vision for Topmate.io, and how does it align with the current trends in the industry?
Okay. So, with TopMed, our end vision is to, enable people who have, let's say, a decent following. And if you have a decent skill set, then you should be able to monetize. Okay. What we realize is that people no longer want to be dependent on a single source of income. Okay. Now, if you look at some stats, then in US itself, 50% of millennials are already having a side hustle. Okay. And 70% of the Gen Z say that they want to have a side hustle at some point, right? And I think uh, this has been majorly gotten a boost after the COVID pandemic, that people were at homes and they realized that, okay, we need to do more things. And that's where I think the creator economy also got a major boost, right? So now people want a second source of income. They want to run a side hustle, right? And we think that if you have a following, if you have a skill set that you can offer to the people, if you have that knowledge, then you should be able to monetize. And that's what we want to enable.
No, excellent. I think this has led to a very nice question. I know I've asked this to you before, but to the audience in general. Why is Topmate not a marketplace? Or I think you are actually very specific about this point, saying Topmate is not an expert marketplace. Yeah, why is that? What is the distinction between what Topmate is currently as a tool to, say, an expert marketplace? Like how companies like intro.co is right now, where you have the experts, experts who sell their services, and then you have the audience can go and select the experts. So yeah, how is it different, and why is Topmate not a marketplace?
Right, and I think this is probably the biggest question that people have. Even, when we talk to our users, sometimes they're a bit confused that how are you not a marketplace? Why are you not a marketplace, right? And the way we look at it is that there are two different problems, okay? One is that, you have audience, but you don't have a way to monetize them, okay? This is purely a tool problem that, if somebody enables you to monetize, then you should be able to monetize because you already have the audience, right? And at the other end, there are people who don't have an audience. Okay, they want clients. They know how to monetize, but they want more clients, right? So these are like two very different problems and two equally, challenging problems to solve. And we realize that we are a small team. We are, we obviously have limited resources, limited bandwidth, etc. Right? So we can't solve both problems at once. So we want to be focused on one problem that, let's say, is being a tool enabling people who already have that reach, that distribution, just to enable them to be able to monetize themselves. Okay, later on it can be a good problem for us that, okay, now that we are established as a tool, we can try the marketplace problem as well. But we inherently see a lot of challenges with the marketplace model. Like, for one, like, this industry that we are in, these are like usually one-time purchases or low ticket sizes, right? So if you are a marketplace, then getting customers again and again for a large base of experts is going to be extremely difficult. And we just think that, that is the reason why we don't see a global major marketplace in this industry. Okay. If you look at the marketplaces which are there, those work where the products are used by everyone, as compared to this being used by a very small section of the society. So we just feel that as a marketplace, it it's not going to be a very high ROI thing for us to do right now. Meanwhile, if we are established as a tool, and then obviously we know that even for people who have a good distribution, more distribution is always good, right? So eventually we can look at things, solving the marketplace problem. But for now, we are very focused on solving just the enablement problem.
No, this is great. But there is a possibility that Topmate can become a marketplace. Is that right?
So So I won't say there's a possibility of us becoming a marketplace. There's a possibility of us solving the distribution problem. Okay. So for
Uh,
example, somebody who doesn't have a reach, we can bring them bookings, but it doesn't have to be through the marketplace route. Okay.
right,
So for
right,
example, I'll give you an example. Recently we launched the feature called AI search. Okay. Now what that does is that, there's a AI search prompt box wherein you come and you just search who you are looking for. Okay. So for example, if you are looking for an expert, you just come here and you type, okay, I'm looking for a product manager at Google. Now it will give you suggestions from the list of top mid experts that who all are product managers at Google, and you can go ahead and book it with them, right? So the thing is that it doesn't need to be a marketplace as long as we are solving the problem for both sides, right? So
right.
these are some things we are trying out, but it's not that we'll be a marketplace though.
No, absolutely. I think, and it's great that the product folks at Topmate are very very clear on what they want to do and what they want to solve. So that's actually awesome. Um, I think it was a tech leader called Aishwarya Srinivasan. She, I think, is a well-known person in the data science field, and she, I think, posted in LinkedIn saying, initially she tried it, she had some feedback, and then that the Topmed team actually worked on it pretty quickly and solved it, and she was pretty impressed with that, and hence she actually joined the platform. So, to that point, what user feedback on market research has influenced the evolution of Topmate?
So, for us, it's really, really important that we are connected with our users. Okay. So if you look at it like that, we are connected with our users over LinkedIn, over email, over WhatsApp, over Slack, over Instagram, over Twitter. Okay. So it's like in every place we have some touch points with the users, and it's important because whenever we launch something, whenever we need some feedback, whenever we just want ideas, whenever we want to learn what kinds of problems they're facing, it's an open channel for us. Okay, so if today we launch a feature in our WhatsApp group or on on Slack, on emails, we'll get feedback from so many users. Some will be saying that, oh, we love this feature. Some will be pointing out, okay, this is a problem. Some will be saying, wow, this is great, but can you also do this? So having that open channel with our users is really important for us. And at the same time, we realize that if you give us some feedback and it is a valid feedback, and if we implement it as soon as possible, and you see that, it makes you feel valued, right? And what that does is that makes you feel that, okay, these people are here, they are connected with me, and they are really solving my problem, right? And that is our goal. But we want you to know. So you may give us some feedback and we may launch it 6 months down the line, or we may launch it within a week. But if we do it within a week, then you're going to be so happy. And that's what happened with Srinivasan, right? That's what happened with Aishwarya, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
she eventually became a fan of Topmed because she had some strong feedback and we worked on it and we realized that her feedback was very valid, right? And it helped us improve the experience for so many people, and that is something she just loved. So yeah, we really, really focus on having that connect with our users and having that feedback from them.
No, this is awesome. I think extremely customer focused, and getting that feedback loop and then building it so quickly. I think that is really impressive. And I think there's one point that you mentioned, I think, which is pretty different from U.S. market to India, which is the feedback loop through WhatsApp. I think that is one right one platform that you don't see a lot in US. I think, but it's actually a pretty big source of data and feedback loop in India. And I saw, when I used Topmate, I was pretty. Kept informed of the loop. Like, I have the meeting scheduled, I have reminders, I have feedback loop all set in within WhatsApp, which is amazing, which you don't have in US, I think.
Right. And I think, so primarily, let's say US is focused on emails or iMessage, right?
Right.
So people are not really very active on WhatsApp, or let's say a lot of people don't even have WhatsApp names, right? Meanwhile, in India, people don't look at emails as much as they look at WhatsApp, right? So for us, when we started, it was an obvious choice that WhatsApp needs to be there, okay? Because this is going to be our go-to way to, let's say, inform our users, notify them, connect with them, right? But at the same time, what we've learned is that initially, while there was some resistance in the US for WhatsApp, now even our users in the US love it because whenever they see a WhatsApp notification, they know, wow, there's a new Topmate booking. Okay. And it has become that something that you just look forward to, and so that's why users are just loving it.
No, it's awesome. I think that is also one big, really easy way for even the users to, keep the loop intact. And I'm an Indian in US. I definitely have, WhatsApp already.
Right.
Excellent. Uh, Right. Okay. So I think the next interesting topic, like I was doing some research into this, and I did not find a lot of data based in India for this, which is the competitive landscape. Like, how does like like are there, like, existing competitors for Topmate? Like, as you said, like, I don't see like a lot of existing companies who do exactly what you do. And if you have, like, if you have identified those, like, how does Topmate differentiate itself from other platforms in the market, which are offering similar services?
Right. So, there is, I would say there's no particular competitor that is exactly doing the same thing as we are doing, right? But there are overlaps. For example, some competitor is focused on just selling digital products and then courses, and then somebody has a specialty in digital products, somebody has a specialty in one-on-ones, somebody has a specialty in courses, and then everyone has a like long tail set of features that okay, we focus in courses, but we also allow coaching, podcasts, so on and so forth, right? So as much as there's no direct competitor as such, at the same time, we realize that there are a lot of things that these players are doing right. Okay, so somebody who is a leader in courses, they are doing something right. For example, in when you have a course, then email marketing is a really really big thing, right? As compared to when you are selling digital products, something else is a really big thing. So for us, we look at everyone as a competitor, okay, and then not in the sense of competition, but in the sense of taking inspiration from them. So for example, we look at somebody, let's say Gumroad. Okay, Gumroad is great at digital products, whereas Kajabi is great at courses. Then there are a number of other platforms, right? So Kajabi has, let's say, email marketing, right? We look at it and we realize that okay, this is a great way to get bookings. But then when we apply it in our context, we are focused more on one-on-ones and webinars and things like that. Then maybe email marketing is not that great of an addition because our target audience is slightly different from Gumroads, right? From Kajabi's. Meanwhile, in the case of Gumroad, let's say, uh, they have a feature called Pay What You Want. We also have a feature called Pay What You Want. Okay, Gumroad doesn't allow you to turn on Pay What You like. Doesn't allow you to offer something for free. You always have to turn Pay What You Want on. Meanwhile, in Topmate, we tried that and we realized that one-on-ones are slightly different, right? In one-on-ones, you want to have discovery calls, you want to be able to offer some time for free so that you can sell something later off, right? So again, competitors act as a great inspiration for us that they are doing something right, we are doing something right. Now it's about what can we take from them, which fits in our context and it makes our users' life easier. And we try a lot of things. Okay, so trying out a lot of things is really important for us. We've tried in terms of product, in terms of growth, we have tried everything, almost everything. And there are so many things that don't work, and we discard them because we realize that okay, this is not fitting in our context, and we just look past them and we accept it that okay, it is working for Gumroad or Calendly or Kajabi or anyone else, but it is not working for us. So I think we try everything with an open mind, but once we have that learning, then we decide that okay, this is not for us.
No, build fast, fail fast. I think that's pretty much a winning strategy, or probably the way the product development should be. No, that's awesome. So my other question was like, do you see like the expert marketplaces that are based out of US, like the intro.co is the one that I'm familiar with, which I have used, but it's which is way different, way more expensive than say Topmate. Like the target audience, the target user persona for companies like Intro or similar companies. I think there are a few more in US, are way different than what Topmate targets. I think so. Do you see them as your competitors, or or have you looked at them as for for your research and stuff?
So see, we always check out anybody who is in this space. We have already checked them out. Okay. But then in terms of competition, we don't look at marketplaces as a competition as such. Okay. We will still look for inspiration if they are doing something that is great. And if that can apply to our context, we'll always draw some inspiration, right? But then we won't we won't look at them as competitors.
Oh, excellent. I think that was a great answer. Um, uh, I think the next question is about the monetization strategy. I think a lot of the folks who are coming from engineering background, like myself, when we are transitioning to product, we don't talk about, or we don't, I think, have a lot of information on, the pricing strategy, the monetization strategy, which was one of the reasons why my first episode was, to have an expert from like pricing strategies. So I'm curious, what is the monetization model for Topmate, and how has it evolved over time, like from the beginning to now?
So for Topmate, the monetization model is very simple. We charge a certain percentage as commission of whatever the creator earns along with the transaction fees. Okay. So we believe that if you are earning something, only then we should earn something. Otherwise, it doesn't make much sense. Okay. There is a alternate model. Let's say you can charge a subscription, or there are like different things. People sell access to tools as a one-time fee, and then you get a lifetime access, something like that, right? But we realize that first of all, see, these are things that you can optimize for once you have enough users who are paying, okay, in any one way. Then you can optimize that what method works out better for you. But for us, the first thing was that we start charging. Okay, so initially we were not charging anything for, so it was free for our users, right? Then we realized that okay, it has been free for a long time. Now we need to start charging. We need to start generating revenue, right? So we started with this commission model, and we gave all our old users a choice whether you want to pay us something or you don't want to pay us something. And you wouldn't believe, like a good significant amount of our existing users who could have gotten it for free chose to pay us. So we were so grateful about that. And going forward, we went ahead with the simple pricing model that there's a small commission. You you pay us the commission only when you earn. If we're using Topmate and offering your services for free, then we won't charge anything from you, right? And then we think it works with our strengths as well, because see, we have tried the subscription model as well as an EB, but we realized that the limitation with subscriptions for us is that there's a limited upside. Okay, so if there's a $15, $25, $30 subscription, whatever, that's the upper limit that we are getting, right? But if we are not generating enough revenue for the creator, then they are bound to churn at some point of time, right? So we don't want to go into the churn aspect of subscriptions because it is always going to be there. Meanwhile, in a commission-based model, if you are earning, let's say, $5,000 a month, then our commission comes out to be greater. At the same time, you have more motivation that okay, I just earned 5K on Topmate, then I should do it more often, right? So both our interests are aligned, that we want you to grow, you want you to grow, right? And that will allow us to grow as well. So which is why it also makes it very clear for us that now because we are getting a share from your earnings itself. Now it is in our best interest to help you grow more. Okay. So for example, we are very clear with this now that we want to help our creators earn more. Now that can be through many ways that, helping them sell more, helping them sell different kinds of offerings, help them increase their ticket sizes, so on and so forth, right? But if we do that and we are able to help you sell more and earn more, that also means higher revenues for us, right? Meanwhile, if we are in a subscription model, those things become non-existent, right? Then we won't touch those problems because it doesn't matter to us that even if you earn more, we are always going to get a fixed subscription, right? So having this model makes things a lot clearer for us. Meanwhile, also making sure that, if we are successful at enabling you to earn more, then we are also going to earn more. So that is why we've kept with this pricing model for now.
No, this is I think a really good lesson for all the product folks, like not just in startups, but like who are leading like different products, and then trying to build new products and launching them. So what would be your advice? Like so you say you have actually tried different subscription model, like started with sorry, a different pricing model. Like you started with a subscription model, you actually tested it on the grounds, it did not work as you expected, and then you pivoted to another one that actually works better for you. Is that it?
Right.
Right.
So see, the way we like to think about is that there are different stages that you are in as a startup. Okay. So let's say 2 years back, when we were still proving whether this category exists, this problem exists, this solution works or not, at that point of time, it wouldn't have mattered what kind of pricing model we keep, right? So that is why we never tried that. Initially, it was all about building that category, right? Making people understand that okay, you have this problem and you never search for a solution, and now we have this solution and now you really need to start using it, right? So if you look at it, first 1.5 years was focused on just this, building the market, right? Now that this thing became a very clear thing in the market, that people were looking at Topmed as a category, now we realize that okay, we have enough presence in the market, now we can start charging people, right? But at the same time, we realize that our focus should be more on the growth side, that we are growing things, right? Monetization is something that we need to start, but we don't have to optimize it yet. Okay. So the point I'm trying to make here is that it's very important to know when you need to do something. Okay. So trying 5 different subscription prices, trying 3 different pricing models makes sense when you are at a stage wherein you are already established, you are already earning money, and now it's about optimizing these things, right? But at the same time, if you haven't established the other things, it makes no sense to look at them. So for us, to the extent that we have looked at it, makes sense for us that okay, we realize that there are two primary pricing models that we could try. One was commission, one was subscription. We tried both and we realized that okay, subscription is not something that works for us right now. So we skipped it and we are focused on commission. We'll double down on commission. And going forward, let's say when we are in a position that we are earning a lot from commission, and now, it's not a problem of growth for us, but it's a problem of increasing revenue, then we'll look at it again that, okay, can we, add in another pricing model? Can we add tiers in the commission model itself? So, for example, Patreon has this, right? There's a 8% commission model, there's a 12% commission model. You choose the plan you like, you get more features, things like that, right? So again, these things are possible for us as well, but again, we don't do it right now because that is not the focus. Focus is enabling people to start earning on Topmate, spreading it so that more and more people start using Topmate. Once we have a bigger base, then we can anytime introduce more pricing plans.
No, absolutely. It's optimizing for growth right now, and then for revenue later, when you hit that.
Yeah, so that was the case for let's say 6 months back, and then we started focusing on revenue. And right now we are doing good in revenue, right? And we are trying to grow revenue very actively.
Mhm.
But it's more about adding value to our users. Okay.
Correct.
So for example, like I mentioned before, it's very important for us to help you earn more, right? So if we do that just by the means of commission, we will also earn more revenue from you, right? So right now we are focused on that. And eventually then we will start looking at pricing, that okay, now should we update our pricing? Are we adding enough value to our users that it is justified that we can charge them more, right? So those things we'll look at it in the future.
No, absolutely, and thank you for taking us through that. That was a very detailed look into that. Excellent. And now I think more of an engineering related question, but I think every product folks should have an understanding of it, which is how do you ensure scalability and performance as the user base grows? And here specifically because the user base, the predominant user base, I think currently for Topmate is India, and now it's growing globally. So, did you see that like a significant jump? And then, in how do you plan for it? How do you as a product lead?
So, for us, it has been very important that we execute things very fast, okay? Because we want to try out many things. We want to learn what works, what doesn't work. It is okay for us that if something doesn't work in a great way, okay. So, like, I think a lot of times startups or products are too focused on building a great experience, but then end up losing track of the problem they're solving, right? So, for us, it is very important that are we solving the right problem? Are we solving it the right way? If we're doing that, it can always be improved later, right? And if it is a burning problem for you, the experience won't matter to you as a user immediately. You'll be just happy that, okay, you are solving my problem, right? And we'll obviously keep improving it. So, our focus is always on solving things or trying things very fast and often in a very hacky way. Okay, we don't go and build something very scalable at the first go, right? We do that when we take a very big bet that, okay, we know this thing is going to work. This is something that we really need. Then, and it is a very important experience, then we will build it very scalably, let's say, right? But otherwise, most of the times, we build features very fast, we try things very fast, we ship them, we see how it works, and then we iterate, we discard, we improve, right? So, and then often, like, over time, we realized that, okay, we had started this feature with a certain user base in mind that, okay, this is our current user base, right? Let's say it was 50,000 at a point, and we started this feature with that in mind. And now we have grown to 150,000. And now we are seeing that, okay, the tech is not working as good as we would like it to. Then occasionally from time to time, we keep solving these things and we, fix our tech debt and we scale things to the next milestone. So like next milestone can be 200,000 or it can be 500,000. So depending on how important that feature is right now, then we scale those features from time to time. But initially for us, the go-to way is always to try more things and see what is working, what is not working, and then double down on the scalability.
Right,
And again, this is something that we can afford to do because we are a startup, right?
right,
So
right.
let's say if we grow 10x from here, okay,
Mhm.
now at that point of time, it won't be something like a luxury that we'll have that, okay, we are trying hacky things, right? At that point of time, because even right now, if you look at our users, a lot of them are, let's say, early adopters or
Right.
enthusiasts who are trying things out, and now slowly there are regular folks coming in as well, right? So as time goes on, then people would expect more stability, so our focus will also change. But for now, the belief is that, yeah, we have to try things very fast, we have to learn very fast, and then we can keep improving later on.
No, absolutely. So again, I think build small, ship small, build
Yeah,
fast.
exactly.
That's great. So talking about challenges, are there any notable challenges that you remember from early stages of Topmate that you had to think a lot over, or is there any something that you remember a lot?
Yeah, I mean, we've faced so many challenges, we have faced
So many
problems
there
at
are.
so many levels, but then there are some that are like huge. So for example, we launched in India first, right? We were in India for almost over a year, and then we started expanding in the US, right? But then there's a very different uh, market scene between India and US, right? So in India, people were okay with, let's say, just the problem being solved, but in US the experience mattered a lot more, right? So that was something of a big shift for us, right? So what ended up happening was when we launched in US, we got a negative feedback initially. Then we realized that, okay, we aren't yet optimized for the US market, right? Then we started working on it. We improved the experience, we improved the stability so much that the same people who said negative things just after 2 weeks reached out to us and say that, the improvements that you've made are just amazing, right? But what that does is that then for about 2 months, we became so focused on stability that we stopped trying bold new things. Okay. And that is something that we now strive to, make a balance between the two, that we keep trying so many crazy new things, but at the same time, we make sure that it is, a good experience. It needs to be a bare minimum experience, that it cannot be broken or it cannot be below this level, right? So now it is a balance that we're trying to do, because what that does is that if we go too safe, if we're trying only something when it is good enough, okay, so that reduces our pace of execution so much that something that we could have learned over 1 or 2 weeks, we were learning over a month. And that as a startup is as bad as, not doing anything. So that is something that we learned the hard way. And then now we are like, trying to strike that balance between the two, that we go very fast, but at the same time, we try to be as good as it can be within the constraints that we have.
No, absolutely. I think that is great. I think that is also a lesson for, how do you balance your, as a company, how do you balance your, the necessities and the features and the feature building and stuff. So, great. Um, the next question, again, I see Topmate being actually very good at this, especially in LinkedIn. I've not seen in, or at least I have not followed it in other social platforms, which is community building. Like, how do you keep up with, like a sense of community among its users? I know you actually, because I follow you, you personally, give a shout out to a lot of people who, introduce their profiles in Topmate. And, a lot of people normally who are working in, like, different roles, now they have a platform to talk about their experience and everything. So yeah, curious to know what is the game plan for Topmate for community building. Yeah.
So, contrary to what you believe, we think that we are really weak at community. Okay.
Ah,
So
really?
what
Okay.
we see on, yeah, that's what we believe. So what we see on social media is a great connection that we have with our users. Okay. So whenever somebody announces their top mate, we try to encourage them. We try to build a connection with them, right? And we try to make sure that, they know that we are listening to them. They can reach out to us anytime, right? All of these things we ensure. And there are so many users who are connected to us at a personal level. But if you look at it as a community, we still think that there's a lot that can be done, which we are not. And it's not that we haven't tried. We have tried building a community like we have on Slack, on WhatsApp, right? It's just that I think let's say people have different strengths, right? So right now our strength is in building those experiences, building that growth, right? But our strength isn't particularly in engaging that community, okay, which is something we are working on. So we are trying a lot of things, like, we have some WhatsApp groups wherein people keep giving us feedback. We have created another community for the some of the biggest fans of Topmate, right? So we are trying different things. We are trying to do a lot more collaborations on social media to engage our users, but still we look at it like this, that we are way too weak in community, and it is something that we need to work a lot on.
I think that's a great, like a value to have. Keep not be satisfied, but yeah, I think from a audience, from a US point of view, I think Topmate is having a pulse on its community. I feel.
Okay.
But great. Yeah. So I think we're coming to the tail end of the questions. Uh, so what's next for Topmate? Like, what's the future roadmap look like? And is there any like interesting features or expansions that you are very excited about?
Yeah, definitely. So, right now, a very big priority for us is revenue, and which in turn means enabling more income for our creators. Okay. So we want to focus on helping our creators earn more. Now that is possible through a lot of different ways, right? So one of them that we are really excited about is we just launched yesterday is a feature called subscriptions. Okay. So until now you could book a one-on-one with me, right? Now I can offer a subscription wherein you can buy that subscription for a recurring service set, right? So maybe we can connect once every month, twice every month, or you can DM me 3 times every month, things like that, right? So we are very bullish on it that uh, instead of a one-time purchase, now you can sell a subscription to your users, and who doesn't love subscription, right? So it's just a way to ensure that there is recurring income for you, right?
Right.
So this is something that we are very like bullish on. At the same time, there are a lot of different things along the same lines that helping our creators earn more. So one is like enabling upsells and cross sells. Another is like selling some add-ons. So things like that we keep on trying. Just increasing the booking conversions that they are already having. And then aside from revenue being the primary focus, we keep on looking at the normal things, let's say the activation, the sharing. So for us, we have like three very major pillars. Okay, one is activation, one is sharing, and one is revenue. So sharing is something that not a lot of other startups have. Okay, for most other startups, it's like sign ups, acquisition, activation, engagement, retention, right? For us, sharing is a very big pillar because that's how people get to know about us, right? So when you become a Topmate user, by virtue of you becoming a user, you announce it on LinkedIn. And that is how 10 other people find out about Topmate and then they sign up, then they share, right? So that is the viral loop that we've built. And
Right.
it is something that is very important for us. So again, these are some things that we keep on doing.
Right. And the subscription for the creators, I think that is a really really creative idea. And again, another lesson for all the pricing strategists, and is a really creative. So because you're as a company, you are earning through the earnings of your main users who are the creators. So that's awesome. The next question is pretty interesting one. I have looked at it. I've googled for it. How is the Indian startup scene? I know it's really hot right now. Everyone wants to invest in India, in Indian startups. So as an insider, what do you see? And there are a lot of young companies, young founders coming up. So how does it look like? The VC scene, the startup scene, everything.
I think it's definitely difficult, okay, at this point of time. It's like, there's this image in the world that India is the next rocket ship and we want to invest in India. At the same time, uh, so because there was a lot of funding in 2021 period, right? A lot of startups got funded on problems that were like, not that big, or now they're realizing that let's say the market isn't big or we're not able to solve it. And those are the kind of startups who are struggling to raise money, right? So right now VCs are asking the hard questions, which they were not asking in 2021, right? Now they are asking those questions and it has become a bit more difficult to actually raise. But at the same time, there are certain sectors that are raising just by having that name, let's say AI, right? So I have seen, in my network, startups getting funded just because they have something around AI, even though it might not be a very big problem, even though it might not be, something that can scale, it might not be something that can make revenue, but because there's a boom in AI, so it's getting more funded. But I think in general, it's more about that, startups who already have funding, they are trying to survive. Okay, they want to survive the funding winter so that once the market opens up more, then they will be able to raise, right? At the same time, like VCs are more cautious with their money now because they've had good returns with their initial investment, but now they want to be cautious that they so previously it was all focused on growth, right? We were looking at growth, like how much you can grow. But now people are asking that, how big is the market, how much revenue you can make. And if VCs see that, they don't see enough potential in the revenue for that startup over the next 5 years, then probably you won't get funded in India right now. So that's what I think.
No, that's very interesting that you bring up. You have all those buzzword, but bring over the terms like AI, which is obviously with all the Gen AI capabilities, it's that scene is heating up. But yeah, yeah. I think everyone, be it an investor or simply like someone like me who is rooting for the Indian startup scene. Yeah, it's a really interesting time, I think.
And
So,
definitely.
right.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, and for me specifically, one of the goals of product bulb here is to highlight product leaders and founders and companies from India, because I think there's so much that's happening, and I think people globally should hear from leaders from I think from India. So I think this is awesome. I'm a big fan of your product, so I'm definitely rooting for you. Yeah, I think we have come to the final question of the podcast, which I've been asking all the guests so far. And then
Okay.
hopefully we'll have an analysis on this later. But what is your favorite product? Like anything in any domain. Your favorite product, if I have to say, and it cannot be Topmate, uh, because there's bias there.
No, I wouldn't have said Topmate anyways.
Okay,
I think when you look at your own product, you are always looking at the bad side. Okay, I can point out
right.
100 things that we can do better, and probably I won't say that we are the best, right? But if you ask me in general, I wouldn't have an answer right now, but I used to love Notion a lot. Okay. Probably because I used to read a lot. Started in 2020, 21. For 2, 3 years, I read a lot, read over 50, 60 books also. And I would make notes of those books. Again, I would use Notion to do that. And I would just love how easy Notion was for someone like me that, I just go in, I use some templates, I create like a entire library that I have inside my Notion wherein I can store all the knowledge I get from those books and I can access it anytime. And what I loved was how easy it was getting started with, how much I could customize it, and then by virtue of what they've made, the value of Notion just keeps improving for me because once I added 5 books, it became more important for me. Now that I have 50 books in it, now it is something that I absolutely cannot lose. Okay. So it is because I have used it so much, it just becomes more and more important for me.
Right.
So yeah, in general, I love it. And it's just that recently I haven't been reading much. So I haven't been using Notion either. So that was why it wasn't like, an immediate answer for me. But in
Right.
general, yeah, absolutely love it.
No, that is great. I think Notion, as a company, they have a really interesting and a strong product. I think culture. A lot of um, people talk about it, write about it. So that's awesome. I think you're the first one. The last two answers were LinkedIn and Amazon. I think.
Oh,
Um,
really?
excellent, excellent answers again. Yes, thank you so much. I had so much fun talking to you, learning about Topmate, and I hope this podcast shines more light on your efforts, and best of luck for all your rocket ship growth, and yeah, for a great 2024.
Thank you so much for having me and absolutely enjoyed talking to you. And yep, looking for that rocket chip growth here at Topnet.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you.